I've been concerned about is that I keep hearing from our Oregon producers that our crops are in jeopardy because research positions remain unfilled.
In a tense and revealing moment during a Senate Appropriations Committee hearing, Jeff Merkley put a spotlight on growing concerns about the future of the U.S. Forest Service, directly questioning Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins. His message was clear and urgent. There's real anxiety about what restructuring could mean for America's forests, wildfire response, and rural communities. Stick with me till the very end. You won't want to miss what happens next. It might surprise you.
Do that, Senator Moran.
I'm usually kind of you.
Yes. Senator Merkley.
Thank you very much, Secretary Rollins. And for decades, we have successfully partnered in Oregon with USDA's Agricultural Research Service. I visited a number of these research stations on dry weed and grasslands, and we have berries, we have a horticultural, because we have so many diverse products coming off our acreage in our state. So what I've been concerned about is that I keep hearing from our Oregon producers that our crops are in jeopardy because research positions remain unfilled. And just to give you an example, the horticultural crops disease and pest management, which does like all this different stuff, fruits and flowers and vegetables and ornamental plants, the whole kind of breadth of the horticultural world, they lost their plant pathologist a year ago, and the position hasn't been filled, and they're also missing administrative officers, lab technicians, and so the scientists don't feel they have the technical support to be able to address the huge variety of threats that are coming from every direction, invasive species and so on and so forth. Can you fill these positions quickly?
Yes, and why don't we get in touch with your office, and if I can get those specifics, I've just written them down, but let me get more information and we'll prioritize that. Great,
we'll get you all the details on that. I appreciate that. And then you have amplified and emphasized the importance of research across the department, but the budget proposes reductions that include the elimination of the Forest Service research. Now, our state is a very forested state. We have a lot of different types of conifers, 20 plus different types, different slopes, different dry land, wetland species, different challenges on mitigation of pests. But just to give you an example, one threat is sudden oak death, and sudden oak death is a big threat as it moves. It's kind of a waterborne mold that's moving up from California. We've been trying to control it, but there's a variation of it that is a threat to the Douglas fir. Wow, that's a massive concern for our forest world. And so do you really want to eliminate the Forest Service research, or can we persuade you to support that research?
Well, I believe what you're talking about, and correct me if I'm wrong, is under the president's current budget that moves, it isn't eliminating it, it's actually moving it over to, and sorry, I didn't prepare as well for Forest Service because I didn't realize we were going to be talking about it, but my understanding is we're actually not getting rid of it, we're just moving it over to the Department of the Interior, so we're aligning all of the research on all the Forest Service specific programs. But let us look into that, if you will. My directive, as USDA has gone through its reorganization, moving the Forest Service more to a state-based effort, ensuring that the people that are serving the forest are the ones that are closest to the forest, not necessarily here in Washington, that nothing has been eliminated. We're only realigning and recalibrating to get it closer to the people that it serves, and frankly, the forest that it serves as well. But let me dig into that, and I'll circle back.
Okay. Well, you did mention an issue I've been more broadly concerned about. I'm hearing about it from people all over Oregon, and that is the movement. Well, there's two things. It's a restructuring of the Forest Service in general, and the move of headquarters to Salt Lake City, the move of research headquarters to, I believe, to Colorado, because we have like outstanding research done in our Oregon forests. We, every little town was a timber town, and so it's kind of in our blood, in our culture, and so we've had just world-class research, and we're really worried about losing that. BLM does have forest lands, but the bulk of the forest lands are Forest Service lands. So I would hope that if the research is being moved, that maybe hold a dialogue with the stakeholders
100%.
before making that decision to move it.
Yes, sir. Again, my understanding is there should be no change to anything in Oregon. The whole goal is to move all of the work closer to you, not to take it away from those that are closest to the forest. So hopefully this is actually additive to that project and that program in Oregon, in that forest specifically, that we'll be able to actually maybe even do a little bit more there. That's the goal.
And that's why I want to have the stakeholders embedded in the conversation to make sure that it is a win and an advance and not something that reduction. And my time's out, so I'll just mention that we are worried about the transfer of the firefighting out of the Forest Service, and again, would like to see a bunch of consultation to make sure that it's done, reorganization's done in a fashion, because the forest fires are brutal in the West.
No, I agreed, and I think you have been part of. I'll start the calls again with our key senators as we move into fire season. I do them weekly, and several of it's obviously bipartisan from people from the West. Lots of the senators from the Ag Committee are on, but I'll make sure you have an invitation to that too, where Doug Burgum and I get on and we just talk to you guys on exactly what's happening, where, how we're moving resources around, what that looks like. To your point, I'm not sure I've ever been more impressed with a group of people than the U.S. Forest Service wildland firefighters. They are an extraordinary group of patriots who do a remarkable job. And we had I don't want to say a good fire season. No fire season is ever good, but we had a much less destructive one last year than we have in a couple of years. And hopefully we're able to track for that again this year and the coming years.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Merkley's concern, summed up in his statement, "We're really worried about losing that," reflects a broader fear shared by environmental groups, local governments, and even some within the agency itself. The "that" he's referring to isn't just a bureaucratic structure. It's decades of institutional knowledge, specialized workforce expertise, and a coordinated approach to managing millions of acres of public land. Now, to understand why this matters, you have to consider the role the Forest Service plays. It's not just about maintaining trails or preserving scenic views. This agency is on the front lines of wildfire prevention and response, especially in western states like Oregon. With wildfire seasons growing longer and more intense due to climate pressures, any disruption in how the agency operates could have serious consequences. During the hearing, Merkley pressed Rollins on whether the restructuring could weaken the agency's effectiveness. Would key personnel be lost? Would decision-making become slower or more fragmented? These aren't abstract questions. They're tied directly to how quickly fires can be contained, how well forests are managed, and how communities are protected. On the other side, Rollins is navigating a difficult balancing act. Restructuring efforts are often framed as necessary for improving efficiency, cutting costs, or modernizing outdated systems. From that perspective, change isn't inherently negative. But Merkley's line of questioning suggests skepticism about whether those goals are being pursued at the expense of operational strength. What makes this exchange particularly important is the timing. The U.S. is facing increasingly destructive wildfire seasons, with billions of dollars in damage and growing threats to lives and ecosystems. In that context, even the perception of instability within the Forest Service can raise alarms. There's also a deeper political layer here. Oversight hearings like this are where lawmakers test the intentions and preparedness of executive agencies. Merkley, representing a state heavily impacted by forest management decisions, is essentially acting as a voice for constituents who depend on these systems working effectively. And that brings us to the bigger question. Can you restructure a critical agency without weakening it in the short term? History shows that large organizational changes often come with transitional challenges, confusion, delays, and sometimes loss of experienced staff. The concern Merkley is voicing is that the risks might outweigh the benefits, at least in the near term. At the same time, Rollins's response, while not detailed here, likely aims to reassure lawmakers that the restructuring will not compromise core functions. But reassurance alone may not be enough. Lawmakers will want specifics, timelines, and measurable guarantees. Thanks for watching this video all the way through. I really appreciate it. If you found it helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and drop a like.